All right, welcome back to another episode of Paul's Collectibles. Got Bailey with us again today, and we are going to be talking about the new Bad Batch series that's coming up that comes out on May 4th. Is that correct, Bailey?
Yes.
Going to get some opinions from someone who's in the know, get an idea of just what the Bad Batch is and things like that, and do a general overview and kind of a primer before the series comes out so we know what we can expect, hopefully, and know what we're looking at. So, Bailey, for someone like me who just barely saw them in the end of the Clone Wars, what is the Bad Batch and who are these guys?
Well, the Bad Batch is, from what I can remember, because it was like the first 4 episodes of the last season, this was like the last of the clones that were, I guess, cloned. But
Clones that were cloned.
Yeah, clones that were cloned. But these guys are unique in that they are, you know, what they would consider defective, where they're not as submissive as like your standard clone trooper. They all have, you know, individual personalities. They're a little more rebellious. They're just more independent.
Is that why they all looked differently too? Because one of them looked like Rambo,
yeah,
and the other one looked like the Incredible Hulk or something.
Yeah, they're just all just, you know, nothing like, you know, all the other thousands of clones that were produced. So
okay,
that's kind of, and that's why they're called the Bad Batch, is because they're not,
oh,
you know,
that batch came out bad.
Right, they just, you know, they're not, you know, they're not going to listen to anybody.
Okay.
You know, they're not going to just go into combat for anyone. They're not, and that's, I guess, what makes them interesting is they don't have an allegiance. So they don't have an allegiance to the Republic or the Separatists or, you know, Jedi Sith. So, which I think leads into that this show is going to be interesting in itself, is that these guys, they only work for themselves.
So was the Republic, were they paying them as mercenaries, or were they just doing that because that was the thing to do at the moment?
You know, I think they were just kind of doing their own thing.
Okay.
Because if I can remember, they just kind of showed up, you know.
Just showed up in the series?
They just showed up and they're like, hey, we'll help you guys out.
Okay.
So they don't, you know, really answer to anybody. So what's going to be interesting to see is how they function when the Empire does come, and it's like, you know, all the clones, of course, become stormtroopers, but, you know, how are these guys going to fit in?
Okay.
In that.
And how many? Were there 4 in that group, or 5, or
5? I want to say 5.
Okay, because at the end, didn't one of the regular clone troopers join them right at the end of the Clone Wars, right?
Yes, and I think that's what happened when they were helping Anakin and Rex out, is they did find a clone that they thought was, you know, gone. So that's going to be interesting too, is to see a clone that, you know, isn't bad working with clones who are kind of doing their own thing.
And each of these guys it looks like they have a specialty or something.
Yeah.
Like one's a sniper, one, right? Is that right?
Right, yeah. One just likes to destroy things. That's the Rambo looking one, I think, if I remember.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. The first 8 episodes of the last season were not my favorite. So, like, this is all just coming straight from the recesses of my memory.
I've heard a lot of that. People say that each of the seasons, if they had just cut out the first few episodes, they had gotten into it.
Yeah, the 7th season of Clone Wars could have easily been 4, but that's a whole other conversation in itself. But yeah, there's one is like wickedly smart, one is, you know, like a sniper. So they all have their own specialty, and they just work well together as a team.
Perfect. And so let's move on to the next question I have for you here. When is this Bad Batch series supposed to be set, and what are you expecting to see based on your extensive knowledge of the Clone Wars?
So this is, from what I've gathered from seeing the trailers, this is supposed to happen immediately after the events of Order 66. Oh. Which, to me, that's, you know, a positive already. I truly 100% believe, like, we need to tell more of these stories of what happens immediately after Order 66, because I think what's interesting about the rise of the Empire is just how quick it was. Mm-hmm. Like, one moment, everything was, you know, okay, and then the next, Jedi are traitors, Palpatine is deformed, and he's Emperor now, and we're just the Empire now. And we don't really get to see the immediate after effects of that. We just see several years down the road. So I think that's great. I will give them that, and that I think it's great that we're finally getting a story that takes place during that time period. And what I'm guessing the show is going to be about is, the Empire trying to get these guys to, okay, like, you're gonna be working for us now.
Right.
All hail the Empire. And they're, so, I guess it's gonna be them kind of navigating that and them going rogue. So that's what I'm guessing the show is gonna be about. But what I'm hoping to see is, they showed Finnick
there you go.
from the Mandalorian, so she's going to be in the show. What I'm hoping is that these guys run into characters like, maybe Captain Rex, maybe Commander Cody, what became of them immediately afterwards, what are they up to?
Right.
That's what I'm hoping to see. Because to be perfectly honest with you, Paul, when I saw these episodes of the Clone Wars, sure, they were entertaining and it was a interesting concept, but to me, I didn't walk away from those episodes thinking these guys need their own show.
Right.
Sure. This is what I gotta see. So what I'm hoping for is that these guys just kind of, like the Mandalorian, how Din was always teaming up with characters we're already familiar with and doing some sort of adventure with them. That's what I'm hoping for, at least.
So we're gonna see that time period right after the formation of the Empire. Liberty dies, as Amidala put it, and I think I agree with you. I didn't even think about that until you just said it. Like the team up concept.
Yes.
To give these guys some traction in the Star Wars universe, we're going to, hopefully, you're thinking, team them up with other characters that we've seen before that we know and love and have a little bit of loyalty to.
Right.
That would be great. That's a good concept. And Fennec Shand, real quick, how do you think she's going to fit in all this? Like a team up type thing?
I think it's going to be a team up type thing because that's kind of how her role was in The Mandalorian, where she shows up and she's like, hey, like maybe she owes somebody a debt or something. Because that seems to be the bounty hunter code, is when you do right with them, they stick around and work for you, because otherwise they operate on their own and they're independent and, they don't have an allegiance to anybody.
Sure.
So I think that's how she's going to fit in is, it's kind of like an accident. Because that's how season 2 of Mando was, is people, they just kind of ran into each other by accident. So I think that's how it's going to work for her. And, hopefully you get more insight into that character rather than I'm a bounty hunter and
here I am.
That's me.
Fair enough. So obviously, I put a lot of credence in your opinion because you are much more storied and you have more in-depth knowledge as it pertains to the animated stuff. Because just because of our age difference, I've tended to gravitate towards other things.
Right.
I'd like to hear what your opinion of putting a series together just based on the Bad Batch is, and what you think of that idea.
To be perfectly honest, when I heard that this was happening, I wasn't jumping for joy as I was for the Obi-Wan show per se. And it's not because it's not about my beloved space wizards or anything like that. It's just because, like I said, when I saw these characters, they didn't really stick with me. Honestly, those episodes are forgettable. I could name way more interesting arcs in the Clone Wars than the episodes they appeared in. As you saw, I could barely remember, what really makes them unique.
Right.
So I was kind of scratching my head, and I know I'm not the only one that thinks this, of these guys need their own show. Okay, when we're kind of sitting here hey, it would have been cool if we got to see maybe a show based on the Vader comics, how he adjusted immediately afterwards. We could get a show about Luke Skywalker immediately after the events of Episode 6, him building the Jedi Order. That would be interesting.
And there's other Jedi still left at this point, right?
Yeah, so we have Quinlan Vos is, said to rumored to be still alive. Shakti, we don't know 100% what happened to her. Barisafi, we have no idea what happened to her. Ahsoka, we have the Ahsoka novel, but that takes place a year afterwards, so how did her and Captain Rex get separated? There's way more other plot holes, I think, that could have been more deserving, I guess, of the attention than, let's just do Rambo Star Wars, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm trying not to pass too much judgment, but I'm kind of going into it not as excited as I am as The Mandalorian. or, you know, the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars. Sure. It's just like, I hope this is good, and I hope maybe we get more answers to of some of the questions we have of what really happened. Because I think that's what made Jedi Fallen Order so popular, is we got to see what it was like for someone else after Order 66. Mm-hmm. We got to see a little bit more into the Inquisitors, their story, another, you know, a story that didn't impact the Skywalker saga. Mm-hmm. So I think I would hope that they would just see that, like, hey, this is what people are interested in. Let's do something on that, rather than, you know, I hope this isn't like because Dave Filoni thinks these guys are cool, like they get their own show. You know, like I don't want it to be like his like fan fiction, if you will. Like just because he has that power and he can. If he wants to make a show about someone he likes, he can. Right. But yeah, I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping, you know, all we have is a trailer, a teaser, and a date. And you know, we'll see what happens. All right.
Well, I know that here at Paul's Collectibles, Bailey and I intend on doing some reviews and some after-action information and opinions as each of these episodes come up, because if I know Bailey, she's going to have some opinions, and we're definitely going to
just wait till Kenobi comes out.
Oh, yeah. So as these come out also, we'll do some more of these talks about the shows as they're coming up, because we didn't want to go down a rabbit hole for 4 hours today about Ahsoka and the Obi-Wan show. But as always, we'll be back with more information about the Bad Batch shows as they come out. And just to reiterate, these are a group of guys who are kind of rogue from the Clone Wars. The era is right after the Rise of the Empire. Yes. Fennec Shand is in it. And pretty much after that, we're not sure what we're going to see, but we're hoping for the best and maybe some team-ups and some characters from the Legacies. That sound about right?
That sounds about right.
All right. Well, with that, we are going to get out of here, but we will definitely see you on the next episode.